All right, UFC Fight Night, Baustista versus Oliveira, full card predictions. Sorry I didn't get a recap up for the last pay-per-view. I was, displaced by the winter storm, so I missed a lot of that live. I've caught up and rewatched the fights, but yeah, went good on picks. I was 9-2 on that, 9-2 on the first card. If you ignore the road to UFC fights, which I didn't do great on, but as far as UFC fights go this year, I'm 18-4, which is very good. So hopefully we'll keep that up with this card. A lot closer odds on this event than the previous two. So we'll see. But first fight of the card, we got Priscilla Cachoeira versus Claudia Segula. Very boring fight. Definitely won't be watching this one. We'll tune in maybe for the next fight. Pretty torn. I originally picked Segula just because I think Cachoeira is not very good. She's finishable for the division. She got finished by Jocelyn Edwards in her last fight. Before that, she did finish Josie Nunez, but Josie Nunez isn't all that good. The only problem is, I think Claudia Segula might be worse. She hasn't really fought anyone that good in the UFC. She fought Melissa Tanya Mullins in her debut, and I think she even got finished, which is a pretty bad look. And then she fought Arina Alexieva most recently, and Arina Alexieva is very bad, and that was a very boring fight. I'm pretty sure it was at UFC Baku, might have been the first fight of the card. Really low level, really bad looking. Just because of that, I'm going to pick Cachoeira. I feel like she usually wins as underdogs and loses as favorites. So I'm going to pick her. Just because if anyone's going to get finished, it'll probably be her. And then Segula is just not very good. So I'm going to go with Cachoeira. But again, neither of these women should be in the UFC. I don't even think the bantamweight division should exist. Next fight of the card, we've got Muin Gafurov versus Jakub Wicklacz. This fight is supposed to be a bantamweight, but Muin Gafurov missed weight. I'm going to pick Jakub Wicklacz. It's hard to pick because obviously Wicklacz, his UFC debut is against Patchy Mix, and that's the only fight in the UFC so far. And Patchy Mix has a very weird UFC run. He was very good outside of the UFC at PFL and Bellator. And then he comes to the UFC and he looks bad against Mario Bautista and looks bad against Wicklacz. Arguably beats Wicklacz, but he doesn't. And it's hard to know. If you're trying to compare a guy at UFC level and his only UFC fight is a guy who we don't really know where he is at UFC level. It's hard to say. But I think I'm gonna go with him just because I feel like he does have a pretty good regional career. I don't know if Muin Gafurov was all that good. Losing the decision to John Castaneda. I think that Wicklacz is definitely a better fighter than Castaneda. But then again, I'd probably pick Randy Nakamura to beat him. And Gafurov beat Nakamura. But that's honestly Gafurov's only good win. I don't think Wicklacz was that bad against Patchy Mix. I'll pick him. I think he's probably the better fighter. It's really hard to know. And the weight miss, maybe it'll be a good thing for Gafurov because he cut 6 less pounds than he needed to, but it could also mean that he had a shit camp. And if he's going to gas, Wicklacz is a guy that'll find a way to take advantage of that. So I'm going to go with Wicklacz. Next fight of the card, you got Wang Kong versus Eduardo Mora. Eduardo Mora, not very good. She lost her debut to Denise Gomes. Or it wasn't her debut, but she did lose her first loss. Her only loss in her career was to Denise Gomes, which doesn't seem like a bad loss because Denise Gomes has beaten a lot of... And by the way, that is the correct way to pronounce it. It is not Denise Gomez. It is Denise Gomes. But her only... she has some decent wins. She beat... what's her name? The really good Mexican prospect. Beat her... She got a couple of these wins. I think she beat Angelo. The only problem is she's not a very good fighter. She has good finishing potential. Uregui, that's her name. That's how she beat Yasmin Uregui, was the finishing potential. She just landed a big shot, and she either got a submission or I think that was just a clean knockout, right? But other than that, she hasn't looked very good in her fights, and losing a decision to Denise Gomes is not a very good look. And then Eduardo Mora arguably lost to Veronica Hardy, despite being a much bigger fighter. And then her most recent fight was Lauren Murphy, who is very old and very washed. I don't rate that as a very good win. I think Wang Kong is a pretty decent fighter in this division. I don't think she's going to get easily out-grappled unless she gets caught by a big strike like she did against Gabriela Fernandez and then submitted. I don't really see any other way she loses. I don't see Mora winning a decision. Again, maybe she'll be able to pursue the grappling really easily. I don't think she's very good. So, and she's not way bigger than Wang Kong. She's definitely bigger. She's the same height, similar reach, and she's much broader and thicker. Like, will definitely weigh more on fight night. But it's not like she's fighting Veronica Hardy, where Veronica Hardy's like 5'2" and like way smaller. So I'm gonna go with Wang Kong using her. I was gonna say using her reach, and she does have a reach disadvantage, but I think she uses her reach a lot better than most women's fighters. And she missed weight too. Damn, everyone's missing weight. But yeah, I'll go with Wang Kong. Next fight of the card. This one's not. I don't know if it's a weight miss. I think it's just a catch weight fight because it's so short notice. But we got Javid Basharat versus Gianni Vasquez. Javid Basharat having a weird run in his career. Started off pretty hot. Got a couple decent wins. He beat Mateus Mendonça, which is a good win. And then he has the no contest with Victor Henry because he kicks him in the dick. And then he comes back and has 2 straight losses. He lost a decision to Amin Zahabi, which isn't aging that poorly. Amin Zahabi just beat Jose Aldo and Chito Vera by decision, so not terrible. But he did get knocked out by Ricky Simon, which is not a very good look. And if he was still fighting Said Nurmagomedov, I consider picking him. It's just he's fighting, Gianni Vasquez, very short notice fight. And I don't really rate Gianni Vasquez his regional career because he's fighting at Up Next Fighting, and I'd never really heard of it. Like, I don't really know any other UFC fighters that have come out of that promotion. And it's not like he's doing bad. Like, he's finishing fighters with decent records. But like some of his wins are not, like he beat is it the same guy, Narek Avagian. He beat him when he was 14-7, and then he beat him again when he was 14-9. I don't think the competition is going to be very good there. And having a 13-4 record out of a not very good promotion is not a very good look. So I'm going to take Javid Basharat. It'll probably be a boring fight because most of Javid Basharat, actually most fights that have a Basharat, are pretty boring. But yeah, I'll take Javid to win this one. Next fight of the card, you got Bruno Brazil versus Ketlin Souza. Ketlin Souza also having recently beaten Yasmin Regui. I think that's her other loss, also by finish. Kind of a similar story to Denise Gomes. Close fight with Angela Hill. She lost because she was less skilled. Close fight with Piera Rodriguez. She lost because she was less skilled. I think it's going to be the same story as this fight. I'm going to pick Bruno Brazil to win by decision. Bruno Brazil's not bad. She looked really good against Molly McCann. She just beat Shi Ming, who had a good amount of hype for some reason. She did lose to Wang Kong, but like I said, I think Wang Kong's a pretty decent technical fighter. Same thing with Loma Lookboom. And Ketlin Souza is just not that decent technical fighter at flyweight. At strawweight. She's just a decent finisher. And that's really it. Like, she doesn't have much beyond that. So I think if this fight goes to decision, which it probably will because it's a women's strawweight fight, Bruno Brazil is the much technically better fighter on the feet. And unless Ketlin Souza can it's a very, very similar story to the Wang Kong fight. It's unless she can very easily out-grapple or somehow finish Bruno Brazil, she's probably going to lose every moment on the feet. So I'm going to go with Bruno Brazil, even though I don't think she's very good. And I don't know if she's a fighting nerd anymore. She's not listed. She's at Insanus MMA 013. So there's that, I guess, if anyone cares. Next up the card, another real stinker. This card kind of fucking blows. Nikolai Veretennikov versus Nico Price. I'm picking Veretennikov. He's pretty shit, but Nico Price is very washed. He looked decent against, or he didn't even look decent against Jacoby Smith. He actually looked fucking terrible, but he just survived the first round, and Jacoby Smith gassed. So it looked like a competitive fight, but Nico Price looked really bad and really slow in that. Same thing as Dema Grimbo. Grimbo couldn't really do much. Couldn't get a finish or anything like that, but he looked way quicker, even though Dema Grimbo himself is not like a young, quick, snappy prospect. He's also a kind of old, slow, boring guy. And that's the same story with Veretennikov. Veretennikov is not that much younger. He's only 3 months younger than Nico Price. Just a lot less, worn. Taking a lot less damage. Veretennikov beat Francisco Prado, which is a decent win. Prado should be a 155er. He's very short and slow, even at 155. So it was kind of strange for him to go up to 170, where he's going to be even smaller. But yeah, I don't know. I'll pick Veretennikov. Like, he's got a decent win in Francisco Prado, better than Nico Price's win over Alex Morono, in my opinion. And then even like the Robbie Lawler fight was like 2.5 years ago, and Nico Price had no chin and he looked slow and he got knocked out cold by a retiring Robbie Lawler. So pretty bad look by that. I'm going to pick Veretennikov, even though he's pretty shit. He lost the decision to Danny Barlow. Arguably he could have won that fight actually, but he looked fucking terrible in it. So yeah, who do you fight most recently? Panamera Soriano, that's right. Yeah, he's pretty shit, Veretennikov, but Nico Price is is old and washed. He could actually probably win this, but yeah, I'm not going to pick Nico Price in 2026. Shouldn't be in the UFC. Really should have. Neither of them should be. So, Verchennikov had signed on short notice to fight Danny Barlow, and they gave him. Like, did they give him a new contract after he beat Prado? That fight was good, but it was very low level. I don't know. I don't know why he's in the UFC. Speaking of, I don't know why they're in the UFC. We've got Alex Murno versus Daniil Danchenko. Danchenko coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Looked pretty good in his UFC debut against the other guy from Tough. I think he very easily beats Alex Murno. Alex Murno coming off of a pretty brutal knockout loss to Carlos Leal, where he took a lot of damage. It was a while ago, so he's definitely recovered. It's just that we saw Carlos Leal use a similar game plan against an old and washed Muslim Salakhov, and Salakhov just knocked him out. Like, he just like, okay, you're going to run me with your hands down? I'm just going to square up and throw a big punch and knock you out. And I just think Murano is incapable of doing that. So if Danchenko walks down Murano like Carlos Leal did, I think he'll have a lot of success. Not a ton of worry about coming back. Murano's also not a very good wrestler. He's not going to like hit you with a surprise fucking rugby tackle and take you down. He's not going to, time a really good double leg and put you on your ass. He's just going to get walked down. Maybe you gas out and he lands a couple fucking women's MMA level strikes and gets a boring decision over you. But I don't think Danchenko is that bad. And Murano's really finishable and really bullyable. So Danchenko probably pretty easy to hit the office. We're on the fucking main card and these are still the fights. Dustin Jacoby versus Julius Walker. I'm picking Dustin Jacoby. Julius Walker's not a bad fighter. Had a close decision with Alonzo Menefield, who might still be ranked. Was recently ranked, at least. And that was on short notice. And, he gassed pretty early, but he looked decent throughout the fight. Menefield, not a very technical fighter, so, if you're not going to get finished by him, I think you should probably beat him in a decision. But, it was short notice for UFC debut. I don't hate that performance. It's just his most recent fight against Rafael Sequeira. Sequeira's really bad, and he's really finishable and really bullyable. I was high on him coming to the UFC because he was undefeated with all finishes. But in every fight except for the Julius Walker fight, he got finished in the first maybe 30 seconds, maybe not even a minute. He got hit with one of the fastest submissions in UFC history in his last fight. He got finished in the first minute by Modestas Mikauskas, who's not a finisher. He got finished in the first minute by Ibo Aslan, who fucking sucks. And Julius Walker's taking him to like a gritty, close decision where they both gas out and look like shit in the third round. Bad look. Dustin Jacoby, he's finishing Vitor Pacino in the third round. He's putting it on and arguably beating Khalil Roundtree with a good, last 2 rounds. So, or maybe he won 1 and 3, whatever. Jacoby just a much more experienced fighter. He also lost a decision to Alonzo Menefield, I guess. And maybe Julius Walker's was closer. But unless Julius Walker can get Jacoby out of there in the first round, first or second, I could definitely see him gassing and getting finished late, kind of like we saw Petrino. Or even like we saw in Jacoby's last fight against, what was his name, Bruno Lopez? Yeah. Where he's just like the quicker, more technical guy, and the other guy's just a big fat bum who's there to get bullied. So, I actually saw like a vlog with Julius Walker, and he looked like a pretty personable, decent guy. I just don't think he's very good at fighting, so I'm going to pick against him. Next fight of the card, stinker alert. We got Gene Matsumoto versus Farid Basharat. Both of these guys are known for going to decision in all of their fights. They're also known for not having very exciting fights when they go to decision. I'm going to pick Farid Basharat. I really don't know how good he is. Obviously, he's not very strong. He doesn't have a lot of power. So I can see him getting outworked in a couple of different situations. Like if there's a lot of clinch work and there's a lot of work in the pocket, I think Matsumoto has the advantage. It's just that Farid Basharat does a very good job at staying away from the positions where he's not very good in. He's got decent grappling. He's got, I believe, a submission in one of his more recent fights against Clayton and Rodriguez. He got a submission. Maybe that's it. I don't know. He's a decent enough grappler, decent enough decision, winner. Chris Gutierrez, a similar fighter, always goes to a decision. Gutierrez usually keeps it close, but usually, he has an advantage over like a 3-round fight. And Basharat beat him, and I think that though Gutierrez and Matsumoto don't have very similar games, like Gutierrez is a lot longer, uses probably hard-hitting strikes, maybe a little bit less grappling. Their style of like just trying to have an advantage every round and not go for a finish and not exert themselves a ton is pretty similar, and Basharat looked good in the matchup with Gutierrez, so I think it's going to be a similar fight where Basharat just has a slight edge on the feet and a slight edge in the grappling and gets a boring win. So I'm going to go with that. I'm probably going to skip this fight, maybe go fucking I don't know, watch a YouTube video or something. I'd really rather not watch this fight. Next fight of the card, we got Mikhail Oleksiejczuk versus Marc-André Barriault. I'm picking Oleksiejczuk. Marc-André Barriault, not a very good fighter. I don't know how good Oleksiejczuk is. He's got a couple losses. But he didn't look bad in all those losses. Like the Kevin Holland fight, he dropped Kevin Holland and then got submitted. Even though he didn't actually break his arm and he didn't tap, Herb Dean just stopped the fight. The Char-Bolt fight, he kept it close on the feet with a good striker. Michel Pereira fight, I didn't love. He got hurt to the body, then immediately submitted. But it's not like Barriault's going to do that. And Marc-André Barriault is not a very good fighter. His win against Bruno Silva got a lot of headlines because it looked pretty brutal. But that's his only win in some time, and he's looked pretty shit in the rest of his fights. I guess he kept it kind of close to Nurmagomedov. He hurt him once or twice, but in his other fight, like the Dustin Soltis fight, is the fight that makes me think like he's definitely going to lose, because that fight was like tit for tat, decent amount of action, kind of back and forth, and then Barriault got hurt, and he decided to stay in the pocket, and then the next punch, Soltis threw, landed clean, and knocked Barriault out cold. And Oleksiejczuk has much more power than Dustin Soltis, who I don't think is that bad of a fighter. But I think Mikhail Oleksiejczuk is probably better than Stoltzfus and definitely has more power. And if fucking Barriault's going to trade with Stoltzfus, he's probably just going to get chinned eventually in this fight. And he doesn't really have like a great, like he's not going to, easily out-grapple and ragdoll Oleksiejczuk. He's not going to, pull guard and submit it. Like he doesn't really have a game outside of like being a kind of decent tit-for-tat striker. And I think if he plays that game, he does get knocked out. So I'm going to pick Oleksiejczuk. I just don't really see where Barriault wins. Other than taking advantage of the fact that Oleksiejczuk is not very technical, and he does have a lot of like defensive holes and holes to, be grappled. But yeah, not a very good fighter, Barriault. And also that fight could be a stinker. That could be a very boring fight. Next fight of the card, we've got the featured fight: Jailton Almeida versus Rizvan Kuniev, or Kunaev. I'm gonna go with Jailton Almeida. Did I say Jailton Almeida? Whatever. That's who's fighting Kuniev, if I didn't say that. Almeida was pretty easily out-grappling Curtis Blades throughout round one of their fight. And then he got kind of desperate in round two and shot a bad takedown and ended up getting him finished, which I think is kind of a fluke. I think a lot of people would agree. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you do that fight, if that fight is, if you simulate that fight 100 times, I think that Jailton wins a lot of them just by easily out-grappling Curtis Blades. And Curtis Blades was having a good amount of success grappling with Kuniev. In fact, that fight was only close because he wasn't grappling a ton, and he was losing a lot of the exchanges on the feet. I still think Curtis Blades won that fight. I don't remember exactly how I scored it, but I think I agreed with the judges that gave him the fight. But it was close, and obviously Curtis Blades beat Almeida by knocking him out. So you might see this like, oh, Blades beat Almeida, and Kuniev arguably beat Blades, so I'm going to pick Kuniev. But I think there's a little more context to it when you consider the fact, like, if that fight went to decision, if Blades didn't get the finish, Almeida probably definitely would have won. And I think that Kuniev is not going to have an easy time finishing Almeida. When he was in PFL, he didn't look very good. Like, he, for one, used a ton of steroids, so he probably should regress, especially because it's been a good amount of time. And also, like Renan Ferreira, he couldn't like easily out-grapple, and like he looked like shit in that fight, is what I'm trying to say. So if he looked like shit against Renan Ferreira grappling him, Almeida, who's much more technical in the grappling, probably look a lot better. Especially considering he didn't look very good in the grappling against Curtis Blades, who we know that Almeida is better than because Almeida out-grappled him. So again, unless fucking Kuniev finds like a fluke knockout, like I don't want to call Blades knockout a fluke knockout because he just capitalized on a mistake that Almeida made. But I just think it happens less often than it doesn't. And if Kuniev can't, finish Renan Ferreira, who's not very good, and fucking Ngannou finished, I don't think he's gonna finish Almeida. So yeah, I think also he'd probably get submitted very early if he ends up on the ground, because he just looked so sloppy in the grappling with Renan Ferreira. So yeah, and he was on steroids, so fuck him. I'm gonna pick Almeida. I don't know why the odds are so close. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Next fight of the card, co-main event, Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I'm going Horiguchi. He's a huge favorite, which I'm a little shocked by. When Moreno fought Albazi, I was really impressed by Moreno's ability to to get the grappling. And I thought it was mainly on Almeida. I'm sorry, not Almeida. Fuck no. It was on Moreno that he looked really good, neutralized the grappling and beating up Albazi on the feet. I thought it was one of the more impressive performances in recent UFC history. Just being so dominant against a guy who's given a lot of people trouble. And then I saw that same Moreno fight Tatsuro Taira and get taken down by the first takedown attempt, and then get taken down by the second takedown attempt, and then get submitted. I'm sorry, not submitted. He got TKO'd. So it's like, maybe Moreno's not that good at neutralizing the grappling, and Albazi just isn't that good. And I think the odds makers kind of agree. We saw Ulanbekov really struggle to implement the grappling against Horiguchi because of how quick Horiguchi was able to enter and leave the pocket, which is a lot of what Albazi struggled with. He just couldn't time a good takedown against Moreno, and every time he got a decent takedown attempt, Moreno was just quick enough to just spring out of it, sprawl, or hit his butt and then kick up to his feet and get up. And that's what Horiguchi is really good at, especially training at ATT with all those good wrestlers. So I don't really think Albazi is going to have similar success in the grappling. And I also think Horiguchi's a lot quicker in and out on the feet in a striking way than Moreno. Moreno's a lot longer, so he's probably able to get his legs back a little bit quicker from a small attempt and stuff like that. But Horiguchi's, I think, a little more quicker with the footwork. So when it comes to like coming in, landing a couple punches, and then getting out, I think he's going to be a lot better than Moreno. I think I could see him get a finish in a very similar way to the Ulanbekov fight. Horiguchi also throws a lot of stuff in the middle. Like I said, a lot of 1-2s, a lot of straight rights, a lot of knees up the middle, stuff like that. And that's what's going to be good against a wrestler. And again, we saw that against Ulanbekov, especially once Horiguchi had backed him up to the cage. Anytime he threw a kick, what's his name? Ulanbekov tried to duck in on it, like especially that big kick right before the finishing sequence. Ulanbekov tried to like duck into the body kick because he thought it might be a kick that he could parry or grab and catch and use for a takedown. And when he ducked into it, he just got kicked, ankle to forehead. So a lot of similar entries that worked for Horiguchi against Ulanbekov worked against Albazi. And also, I think that one thing that I'm kind of neglecting to mention is that Albazi looked pretty solid against Kakar France, and then he got a really bad back injury and was out for 2 years and looked like significantly worse against Moreno. And maybe I just gave Moreno too much credit because against Taira, that wrestling defense wasn't really there. And maybe Tatsuro Taira is just that much better. But if Tatsuro Taira is that much better than Albazi, I don't think Albazi is that good. So I'm going to go Horiguchi. Probably, maybe by finish, probably by decision. I think the fight's going to be pretty similar to the Ulanbekov fight. It's just maybe there's a closer, first round or something. Maybe Albazi does get a takedown. I think Albazi is definitely better than Ulanbekov, and probably on the feet too. I think there's going to be a very big discrepancy in skill level on the feet. All right, on to the main event. I had notes for this. Let me pause and grab my notes. All right, main event. Vinicius Oliveira, Mario Bautista. I'm going to go with Mario Bautista. And maybe it'll be, I don't know. I'm a little torn because I kind of want to pick a draw. That might sound weird to pick a draw because draws basically never happen. But I think this fight does have good odds for a draw. So you can get good odds on that. Maybe that's the best bet. But the reason why I want to pick Bautista or even a draw is because Vinicius Oliveira has a very interesting style that's going to, basically his game plan is how the fight's going to go. And that's because we saw this against Kyler Phillips and against Said Nurmagomedov especially, is that Vinicius Oliveira moves forward with his hands low, slipping strikes, and throwing very wide, powerful punches to the head and body over and over again with constant pressure in an effort to break his opponent. So he's not really going for a knockout strike on every strike, but he's putting all of his weight into it just because he wants you to have to deal with every strike like it's a knockout strike and break to pressure. And it worked really well against Said Nurmagomedov. So well that even though Vinicius Oliveira got kicked in the body and broke his rib, he wasn't the one who broke in the fight. He wasn't the one who gassed out. Said did just because of all the pressure. And same thing with Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips was landing the much cleaner work. He was probably doing better than grappling, but he's the one that gassed out and broke because Vinicius had so much pressure and there was constant shit to worry about. But the problem with them, you can say the same thing about Bernardo Sopai too. He also gassed out because Vinicius Oliveira had so much pressure in the grappling. Sopai lost a couple positions, and throughout the fight, so like at the end of the fight, Sopai was completely broken, got leg kicked, and then basically sleepwalked into a flying knee just because he was so tired and gassed out. But the problem with that is that if you look at the context of those fighters, one, Kyler Phillips has gassed out before. He kind of gassed out against Pedro Munoz. He gassed out against Rob Font, like really bad, and that's why he lost that fight. Said Nurmagomedov, he gassed out against Jonathan Martinez. Kind of broken that fight too. And then he also was kind of breaking to Saidjakub Kakramanov. Even though he won that fight, he was getting very easily out-grappled, and he was starting to slow down a lot, and he threw on a ninja choke and got the submission. But he wasn't looking great in that. And then Sopai, Vinicius, his first win in the UFC, he gassed out in his most recent fight against Ricky Tercios, which was a high-paced fight, but Sopai took their fight, the fight against Oliveira, on only a couple days' notice. So a short notice fight, I'm not surprised he's gassed out. Now it is a 5-round fight, which does help Vinicius Oliveira, but I don't think he's going to win any of the rounds of 1 through 3, just because he's so not technical, and I think Mario Bautista is so well-rounded. I think that Vinicius Oliveira is often going to be open to being taken down. We saw that on this Contender Series fight, was he was throwing these really wide hooks with his hips completely square, and it was left perfect target for a double leg. So he got taken down a bunch, which I think is going to happen a lot in this fight because Bautista is a very well-rounded fighter. He's got good wrestling. And he also left himself open for counters on the feet, which I think Vinicius Oliveira would take advantage of. Vinicius Oliveira, against Patchy Mix, he used very high volume, was throwing constantly, was looking for openings, was taking advantage of a target that wasn't moving a ton, and he won a pretty clear 30-27 by winning every round in the first 2 rounds. And maybe if that fight went longer, he would have gassed down rounds 4 and 5 and lost them. But he was able to very easily win rounds 1 through 3. And he's never gassed before, which makes me worried about him gassing. If you're going to pick Oliveira, I'd worry about Mario Bautista not gassing the first 3 rounds, just because we haven't seen that yet. Now, because Bautista has a pretty big technical advantage in at least the first 3 rounds, there's a good chance he gets a 10-8 in those first rounds. I could see him taking down and controlling Oliveira for a good amount of time. Oliveira was getting out-scrambled in some positions against Sopai, and we saw against Umar that Bautista is a very good scrambler. He was in a lot of the worst positions for a decent amount of time, but again and again, he was able to get up, scramble, get his hips out, find his knees, get up, stuff like that. So, he's good at scrambling, so if he's good at defensively, I imagine he's pretty good offensively. If Vinicius Oliveira stuffs a takedown, maybe he can, run to the back or find positions like that. So in the first 3 rounds, I think that good chance Vinicius Oliveira gets a 10-8. And then also, I think there's a good chance in the last 2 rounds, if Bautista gasses really bad, because that's the effect Vinicius Oliveira has had on his recent opponents, I could see him getting 10-8'd. If he's stumbling around like Sopai in that round 3, if he's doing that in rounds 4 and 5, he can get hurt, he can get dropped. He can get taken down and controlled for a while. He could really get beat up, and we could see a 10-8. But I think the problem with that is Vinicius, he's probably going to gas too. And even though he's starting to gas against Said, he was still winning those rounds. Like, he was still winning round 3. He won round 3 against Kyler Phillips while he was pretty gassed. But the problem is his style was very sloppy, which I don't think is going to look very good for the judges. And if he's gunning for a 10-8 to try to get a draw after being down 3-0, or if he's gunning for a 10-8 to guarantee a win or something like that, or win a close round, his style is very sloppy, which doesn't reflect very well for the judges. He's won every decision he's gone to in the UFC, but I could definitely see him, on everyone's scorecard, like, oh, that was a 10-8. I mean, Bautista was gassed real bad. He was getting beat up, but because the judges see Vinicius look really sloppy, they might, not give him a unanimous 10-8. And he might be able to, not get a draw, or not, win the round that he needs to win. Especially if he gets 10-8 early. Like, if he gets 10-8 in round 1 and then loses 2 and 3, he's going to need a 10-8 and 4 and 5 to win a decision, or get a draw. So yeah, I don't know if his style's perfect for that. So because of that, I think money on a draw is a good bet. But I think that if this fight has a winner, it's going to be Bautista. He's just way more well-rounded. Actually, let me check the odds. I'm curious what people think. Odds are pretty close. I mean, Bautista's a 2-1 favorite. Vinicius a 1.5-1 underdog. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love that money on Vinicius Oliveira. I don't think he's a very good technical fighter. He's a good winner. That's kind of what we're seeing recently in the UFC is you don't have to be the best fighter. I mean, we just saw DDP, who's very not technical, who looks like he gasses out in every fight, go on an 8-fight winning streak and win the belt, defend it twice. You don't have to be the best fighter in the world to win fights. You don't have to be the best fighter in the world to win 5-round fights. But I think that at the lower weight classes, you're going to see these more technical guys like Baustista, who are very well-rounded, very good strikers, very good wrestlers. They're going to take advantage of these openings and get some easy wins. And I think this is going to be one of them. So let me know if you agree or disagree with my picks. Pardon if I sound very phlegmy and congested. Those two things are true. But yeah, like the video, share the video. Let me know what you think of the picks. Let me know if you agree or disagree, or if you want to hear more about a certain pick. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'll be live tweeting the event, hopefully, assuming I don't get snowed in again and lose internet. Yeah, that is all. I have a playlist on my channel if you want to watch all of my predictions going back to the beginning of last year. Again, like I said on Twitter, I've been live tweeting combat sports for a bit now. So if you want to see a take on a certain fight, feel free. And then maybe I'll do a recap for this fight. I don't know. I think I'll like to keep those to the better cards. But I'll be back with my predictions for I think there's fights next week. So yeah, thank you for listening.